The Herbalife Broadcast Network is proud to present Kurt and Cindy O'Connell's 5-part training series. Today is part 3, your business building stage.
Hi everybody, we're Kurt and Cindy O'Connell from Oshkosh, Wisconsin.
Welcome back.
And we're really excited about spending the next few minutes with you here today, because what we're going to do here, we are actually in the third of a series on going through everything that we've learned in the business so far over the last several years. So the first topic we went through, and the first in the series here, was the business fundamentals. That's where we talked about what kind of a business we're in, how we make money in the business, the 3 groups that we want to build, consumers, volume producers, builders, and then we talked about the 3 things we all need to do in this business: use the products, create personal volume, and teach others how to use the products, create personal volume, teach others again, so that we're in the business of duplication. Second in the series that we went through was your business startup stage. So you understand the fundamentals of the business, you think this is something you want to learn how to do. What do you do in planning and getting your business started? We talked about there getting your goals down, determining where you want to end up in the marketing plan, what your goal, your ultimate goal is, and then defining an action plan and an advertising plan on how to get to that goal. And where we want to go from here is pretty exciting. I love this stage of the business. It's what we'll call your business building stage. And of course, that's something that would happen after you implemented an action plan, as people are going to respond. Now, let me first, I think what I first want to do is just give the 4 topics we're going to cover here, and then put it in a little bit of a perspective so that you can know, if you want to take notes here, where to fill it in. We're going to cover 4 points that are important, 4 or 5 or 6, something like that, in your business building stage. First thing we're going to cover is you need to really commit to, number 1, your education. We'll talk about that. Number 2, building those 3 groups. What are the details on how to really build the consumer group, volume producer group, and the builder group? The third thing we're going to cover is the use of those activity gauges, those records, to control your rate of growth. There's a reason why we fill those out. I mean, it's powerful how you can impact, influence, and control the growth of your whole organization based on how you use those. The next thing we are going to cover is just the importance of keeping some basic financial records. Don't get afraid of that. It's not a complicated thing. I am the most unlikely candidate for watching the financial P's and Q's in a big way, but in a basic way, just to keep things straight. We'll cover that and how helpful that is. And then the final thing we'll get into is mentoring your team members. You hear that word a lot. I think it's really become a buzzword lately, is mentoring. What's that all about, and how do you do that? So business, go ahead.
Well, you know, and I just wanted to say too, this segment is starting to get a little bit more into, it's really geared towards the person who said, you know, this is it, I'm wanting to do this business in a big way. I'm one of those people who wants to be a builder. I want to find consumers, I want to find volume producers, and I want to find builders for my business. This is going to start, this session here is really geared towards you, that person who said that. Now, if you're somebody who says, you know, I don't want to be that, you know, go ahead, hang around, listen to what it's all about. But remember, this is really geared towards those of you who say, I want a career level income.
Absolutely. And you'll still be able to, there will be parts of it and concepts here for those of you, maybe you don't want to become a builder. You'll still be able to apply some of those, like for instance, the education. It can be important. We all need to get educated in the business, but yes, we're going to cover all the way up to that builder. So, cool. What is the business building stage? Here's how I really like to look at this. Think about this for a minute. We're building a house right now. This is our Herbalife house. I love it. Phenomenal house. But we went through, building a house is something that you go through a series of steps. You know, as I describe this, think about your business too, because in a lot of ways, building this business is similar to building a house. What's the first thing we had to do before we started building our house?
Well,
the very first thing.
We had to dream. We had to dream about what kind of house we wanted. And And again, in the same way as it paralleled our Herbalife business, our dream house started out to be a certain size, and it did grow. But we had a dream. What kind of, what do we want the outside to look like? What do we want the inside to look like? How many rooms do we want? How many bedrooms? How many bathrooms? How many fireplaces? What kind of a playroom do we want? Do we want a pool? Do we want marble? Do we want granite? All those things we had to dream until we came up with a vision and an idea of what kind of a dream house we wanted to live in.
Perfect, and that's the first thing you need to do in this business too. We talked about that in a previous segment, the dreaming and getting that down, having the vision for your business and getting it, what was the next step? We talked about getting it on paper, right? Well, how does that apply in building a house? Next step is to make a blueprint. After you have the dream, you bring it to someone and you get a plan in writing, which is really the second stage of a business, building a business. After the dream, make the plan. So that plan for the house, now it really starts getting exciting because we can see it's actually an exact representation on paper of what the final product will be when it's done. So now we have something to follow. And what is that plan for? When you look at a house, why do they use the plan? Well, the plan is there so that those who are going to build it have a guide to follow. So they can go to the plan and say, all right, do this, put that there, and make sure that everything they're doing on a daily basis is all going together for a final goal of a finished product. And that's the kind of plan you want in your business. That's why we talk about laying out what kind of a business you want, what kind of a plan, how many hours you're going to work a week, and then what size to build those groups. So the second stage is the planning stage. And that we talked about in a previous one. Well, what happens in the house next? In somewhere, even still, actually, we should go one step further into this. Into the planning stage, there's also this part of the planning stage is getting ready to build. We talk about that in your business, getting tooled up to be prepared for business. Well, now we're finding contractors after we've got this plan. We're looking for the contractors, maybe the subcontractors, the skilled people, everything and everyone we're going to need. And what do they begin doing? They begin getting the materials and a lot of this getting ready to build would be somewhere in that planning, maybe a third stage. But then the next stage here of the house, which is really exciting, is when they break ground. They begin building. And the building stage is a stage that's marked by a lot of different qualities and a lot of different experiences. And this is very important to catch because very much what people go through in building a house or in building any building, very similar to what we go through in the business. I mean, what happens when you go past a building project? What do you see? I mean, what is a typical day on a building site that's actively in building stage?
Well, you're going to see people running. You're going to see a flurry of activity. You're going to see people running around. You're going to see materials laying around. You're going to see, 2x4s here and roofing shingles over here and, lighting instruments over there. And you're not going to see the house yet, but you're going to see a flurry of activity and you're going to see a lot of the pieces laying around.
And a lot of and the workers, it's great. What do they do? What does a worker do? I love watching them because they're building ours, and we go out there, and every once in a while we get to see what's happening. And they look at the print, and they study it for a minute, and then they see what they're supposed to do, and then they go and they build it a little further. The thing that happens during the building stage is the key is activity. Activity, a lot of activity. And every time you go by, there's a little more progress, Sometimes you don't see it, like when they're laying the foundation, a lot of below the ground work, but then eventually it starts going. A lot of, what else is associated with building?
Well, I can tell you right now, there's a lot of, at this point in the stage of our building process, now there's coming in some stress level for us personally. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of decisions that need to be made. There's a lot of demands and pressures being put on us as the homeowners. And, it's starting to get to be a little bit stressful. And at the same time, for me, it's beginning to feel like, I feel like I've been building this house forever. And I know that we have so much farther yet to go. Mm-hmm. It's almost beginning to feel like I'm not even building a house and I'm never going to move in. And it's a little bit stressful. It's a little bit discouraging. And even though there's progress being made, it doesn't look like progress is being made.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been like that for a
Frustration.
few months now.
A little bit of frustration comes in there. You know, and why? I want to move in today. I wish it were done. I want to move in. And so the emotion of this time is powerful. It's strong. Can go swing. One day we're all excited. The next day is like, oh man, when will it get done? It's very similar to the emotion we go through at different in our building stage of our business. And what I mean by building stage is we're building these three groups, okay? That's the business building stage. But even more, you know, a lot of other things. You know, there's in the building stage of the business of the house, I think of cuts and bruises. You know, pain. The workers. There's a lot of hard work, exhaustion.
Yep, some of them are working overtime. Some of them are trying to get their schedules done on time. They're up there. We live in Wisconsin. It's winter time. We've got these guys on the roof. It's 0 degrees outside. I mean, there's a lot of pain going on that building site right now, too.
No, it would have been one thing if our plan for that house was, okay, build it in 6 or 7 or 8 years. Then maybe the schedule would be a little different. But we had a little more of a fast track. You know, get this thing built in 9 months. I know they're taking 11. But again, very similar to your business. If you're someone who says, I want to get there very quickly, then you will need to put more effort, more energy, more emotion into your business. That's totally normal. That's a way of things on earth. And even with the impatience that comes, can you imagine if we were to say, oh man, we're how many months into this now?
We're like 5 months into it.
5 months into this thing. I'm frustrated. It's never going to happen. Let's quit. Let's quit building the house. I mean, would that be foolish? Okay, but there are times we feel that way, and you know what? During building stage in our business, there are times we feel that way. I feel that way when I'm in a building stage. It's like, are we ever gonna, are we ever gonna have the benefits of this? And totally normal. Maybe you're in that stage right now and you're feeling some of that. Relax. It's a necessary part of what it takes. The one thing you got to realize too, I mean, if we were to just get so impatient and say, I'm going to enjoy the benefits of this house now, I'm going to go move in.
Well, right now we'd be very cold.
It would be very, it's like, hello, the house isn't ready to move in now. Not time to retire the building project yet. That's another thing that can happen sometimes in building the business. We've made the mistake. I mean, there were times when our momentum got going so good in the building stage, and we thought the business was built. And so we thought, well, now we can relax. And we found out, sure as if we'd go and tried to spend the night in our house right now, that it wasn't ready to move in, okay? There will be a time when we can move in, but how do you know when that is? How do you know when you're done building? So that's what we're going to talk about in this session.
We can't talk about the finishing stage because we're not there yet. But the one thing is, you know, we've spent the last couple months, and it really looks, every time I go out to the site, I've been discouraged lately because every time I go out to the site, I walk through the house and I say, it doesn't look like anything has changed at all. It doesn't look like anything is done. And it's been like that for a couple of months. But the thing is, a lot is being done. There are workers out there every day working on that site, on that building, and there is progress being made. But you know what? For me, the person who wants to move into the house, it doesn't look like anything's being done. It looks like all we're doing is wasting time and dragging our feet, and when are we going to be able to move into this house? Because every time I come out here, you guys are all here, but I don't see anything being done. And a lot of times that's the way it is in our business. You know, I'm doing this stuff, I'm selling products, I'm sponsoring people, I'm going to the trainings, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, but it doesn't seem like anything's getting done. My check isn't growing. When is it going to happen? I just want to be President's team today. How long is it going to take? When can I move in?
If you're feeling that way, hang in there. It's normal. It's a part of normal life. Hang in there.
But there is stuff being done. You know, even though during that process of building, when it doesn't feel like anything's being done, things are being done. And you have to realize that the business and the work you're putting in right now, it may not feel like it's there, but it's all necessary steps that are going to take before you realize being able to live in that house. Just like I have to have patience right now too.
You know, and it's important when you're in that building stage, everything we're going to talk about here, it's important to know that if you build the house right, if you build your business right, then there will be a time when you can move in and you can say, I'm done building. I'm done building. You can do that. A house you can move in. that's done building, and you can say, I'm done with the house, that's it. Now, if you choose, after you move into your house, at some point in the future, to expand it, to make it larger, to go into another building project on it, you can. To build another house, you can. You always have that option. But once it's built, there is the opportunity to move in and take the benefits of that project. Same thing with the business. If you build it right, you can stop building if it reaches a size that you like. Now, that's totally up to you. I'm going to be doing Herbalife forever at some stage. Am I always going to be in an active building mode? Well, we'll find that out. Right now, we still are. There are stages. But keep that in mind, that that's there. Now, that's very important to keep in mind when you're in the building stresses that come if you're someone who's on, say, a fast-track approach. Very important to keep that in mind, that it can be temporary. You can come to the point where once it's built, you don't necessarily need to continue to go through some of the activities we're talking about here.
Okay, so you guys get the picture, right? We're
Got the
talking
picture.
about building. Okay, so what are some of the things that are important as you're building your Herbalife business? What are some things that you're going to have to do? And number one is you're going to have to get involved in educating yourself. You know, knowledge is power. And when we feel that we know and understand what we're doing, we're more likely to take the steps and move forward to do the things that we're supposed to do. And some of the things that we talk about in our business as far as education goes is there are certain things in our business that we use. And one of the things we use is TouchPhone. We use TouchPhone as a training resource. Some of you don't, but some of you do. If you're an organization that uses TouchPhone, then you need to be involved with TouchPhone. You need to be using it daily. We tell our guys to tune in at least 3 times a day. That way it doesn't become overwhelming, and you're always current on what's going on. You can get through your messages quickly, and so TouchPhone is an education source that you can use. We also use the Herbalife STSs. You know, we tell everybody to get involved and enrolled in those. Go to the STSs. They're your inspiration. They're your training. You learn so much. And every time you go to an STS, don't just go once. You've got to go more than once. Because every time you go, you're going to pick up something new. You're in a different place. You're going to learn something new. You're going to pick up something new. Very important source for your training. And also, there are just a ton of reference materials that you can use just from Herbalife alone. You've got HBN, you've got your HBN library, you've got videotapes on the marketing plan, on the products, and then there's all kinds of tapes out there on network marketing and the industry that you can learn and follow up on. We've got online resources, Herbalife.com. So education is something that you absolutely need to get involved with so you can understand your business and be more productive in it.
And yeah, and the Herbalife tapes are phenomenal. A lot of fantastic videos, the website. Just make sure you do that. Here's what I consider education to be. When you make sure that you take the initiative to get educated. It's an investment in yourself. And if you invest in yourself, you'll hear Jim Rohn say, your business will grow as fast as you do. So you need to continually get yourself educated in this, in all of the aspects of the business. A second area under your education would be getting mentored. I think getting mentored is a very important thing. What do we mean by that? It means someone in your upline has been successful. If you do try to fashion your business after the way they've done it, you have the potential of getting mentored. Now, not everybody has that available to them, but if you do, go after it. And just ask them. You know, if not, then at this, I'll tell you, these Herbalife events, you want to get to every success training seminar, every event you can, and talk and learn from the people there. Powerful what we can learn from other people. If you do have someone in your sponsorship line that is willing to work with you, here's where I would go. I would say, great, can I listen in on some of your calls when you talk to customers? Can I listen in on some of your calls when you talk to prospects about the business? Can I have you listen in on some of mine? Will you do some with me? These are called three-way calls. We love to do three-way calls. We do a few of them with each of our people to model how to do them as we teach. And if you've got a sponsorship line that does that too, it's phenomenal where that goes. maybe you guys don't use a telephone for prospecting. Maybe you do home meetings or hotel meetings, that kind of thing. We'll go there and pay attention to how people are doing the presentations, and then ask if you can learn how to do some of them too. That's what we mean by mentoring, is basically learning from your sponsorship line, if possible, or those others successful in the business if your sponsorship line doesn't have that kind of a program, how exactly to develop the basic skills in every aspect of the business.
Another portion of the education that we talk about investing in is your personal development. Now, we believe strongly in this. We think that it's a very, very critical part of your business, because when we say this business is fun, simple, and magical, it really is. There are skills to learn, and you do need to learn different skills as you're growing in the business, and you can learn them and you will learn them. But really, those things are all very basic, all very simple to learn and to master. So what I feel and what we feel strongly about is that the things that will help you or impede you in this business more than anything else are your emotions. This is an emotional business. You know how it is. When you're feeling good and excited, you can get a lot accomplished. You know, the world is your oyster, and you can just go on and on and on. When you're feeling down, if you're having a bad day, boy, everything's bad, the business is bad, life is bad, everything's bad. And you base so many of your decisions in life on your emotions. I'm excited, I want to get involved in this business, so you do it. Oh, I'm having a bad day, I want to quit, so you do it. And those decisions are based on emotion more than they're based on fact. So we feel to really, really get through, especially the building stage, which can at times become very, very emotional as far as roller coastering, is to arm yourself with the best that you can do education-wise in personal development. And there's so many things out there today. I mean, there's so many resources out there to help us, really get in control of our life and our emotions, so that we can make our decisions based on, what's wise, what's right, what's true, rather than what we're feeling day in and day out. And I know for us personally, personal development, was a critical key in helping us move forward in our belief system in the business and our potential and what we can do. And also, we were able to translate that into our organization, because the more positive we felt about our life and our business, because of the personal development we were doing, we were able to encourage people to follow us because of our belief in where we were going. And again, personal development was a big, big part of that. What we recommend all of our distributors to get involved in personal development. Spend 15 minutes a day. If that's all you can give to it, give 15 minutes a day. Before you get up in the morning, before you get out of the bed if you have to, grab a book, read a chapter, or, before you go to bed, read a book, watch a videotape. I listen to tapes in my car all the time when I'm driving, so I can just be listening to that positive stuff. There's so much negative stuff out there. You need to have that positive stuff. Visual aids are so important, and I think that's a fun, simple, magical thing to do. I resisted doing that. I always thought people said do a dream wheel and things like that were just really corny, and who needs that stuff? But I tell you, when we started to actually put visual elements on our wall, we pasted pictures of things that we want, and not always just money or cars or things like that, but relationships, good experiences with my family, my spiritual life, all those things, putting those out in visuals up there. And then those written goals, getting those written goals out there. So those visuals will really help you a lot. I believe in those a lot. So that's a fun, simple thing that you can do right now. Dust off those dreams, create yourself a dream wheel, and get involved in personal development. It's very, very important.
And really, for those of you who may not know what a dream wheel is, it's really just a matter of taking those whys, your reasons, the kind of a lifestyle you wanted in this business, just taking visual pictures and things that represent it, and putting them on a board. You can cut them out of magazines and put them on your wall or put them on a board, representing the different areas of your lifestyle that you're looking for, just something that puts a visual connection with your why, and have it in front of you somewhere in your house where you can see it on a regular basis. Now, a couple of areas in personal development under your education that I suggest everybody look at are kind of two areas, maybe even three. One area is educational. Okay, so educational means reading and learning about the business, about how to set goals, about things like that. Jim Rohn is phenomenal in that respect, and we get all kinds of his materials from Herbalife. So educational. One that I think is phenomenal as far as educational is working with people. I was not a people person at all. When I started this business, extremely shy, extremely uncomfortable working with people, and now I'm going to develop some groups of people, and I had to learn that. Some of it is practice. Take it easy on yourself with your education. Practice does make improvement. Maybe not perfect, but improvement. So the more you practice at different areas, that's part of an educational process too, but also read about it. You know, I loved the Dale Carnegie How to Win Friends and Influence People book. Mm-hmm. It helps teach the basic personal, how to work with people, how to talk with them on the phone, that kind of stuff. But anyway, educational personal development is one, and then a second one is inspirational. And that's what Cindy was talking about, a lot of the emotional. And what I like to do is focus on the educational in the morning and the inspirational in the evening, or vice versa. 10 minutes, 15 minutes each time. So one point I do want to make, though, especially if you're just going into this stage of your business for the first time, in this whole education segment, when you go to the training seminars, or when you get different education on how people are building their businesses, you go to the STSs and the events, one key, write this down, be consistent, don't change plans. Okay? You're going to be tempted to do that. I know that's part of why our first couple of years in business, we could have grown further than we did, but we kept changing plans. We'd go to a success training seminar, and we'd see someone talking about they use flyers in this kind of method, and they use this kind of approach to talk to the prospects, and they use this script. And then we'd start doing that. And then the next month would come along, and there'd be someone else talking, and their script was a little different, and their flyer, they didn't use flyers the same way as us, and they didn't take their calls live, they did them on a voicemail. So now we changed everything and went to voicemail. Guys, biggest mistake you could make. That's why I recommend, if someone upline from you is successful in the business, follow their way and stick with it. If they were successful at it, you can be too. And that's, again, the best support. Don't go switching plans. Don't get inconsistent with it. I mean, sometimes at the seminars we talk about that if this were a farming business and you went to an STS, Success Training Farmers business, right? And they trained, the trainer there said farming's the greatest way to get rich in this business, so we're taking notes, and he says, I've done so well, and I've been growing corn. And you say, great, corn farming is the way to do this. So you go home, and you plant your field of corn, you buy all your seed, and you do the work, and you get it going, and you think, this is great, I'm going to be a herbal corn farmer, right? Mm-hmm. And then the next month, you say, great, the STS is coming along, and you see the new guest speaker come up, and they say, yep, herbal farming is the best way to go, and we're in herbal farm life, right? And here's how I do my herbal farm life business. I grow wheat. And all of a sudden you start thinking, oh, gee, I've been growing corn, I'm doing the wrong thing. So you go home and you plow everything under, and that whole corn crop, and you grow wheat. And you say, now I got it right. The corn wasn't the best way to go, the wheat was, right? And so then you come back, and now I'm all happy. I'm going to be an herbal wheat farmer. And then next month I come to the training seminar. I can't wait. I'm going to get educated on my business. And I see, oh, another great guest speaker. And they say, I love herbal farming is the greatest thing. And I do herbal farm corn, right. soybeans, you know? And you get the picture, okay? We did that kind of a thing in our business. And some of you are laughing at yourselves right now because you're thinking, I did too. Well, are any of those crops going to mature? Absolutely not. Don't go changing blueprints in the middle of building a house project. Stay focused, really important. As you get educated, don't jump from plan to plan. So that's it on educating yourself as one of the main ingredients in your business building stage. Next thing we'd want to talk about is building your 3 groups. What really are you doing in the business here? This is a business of building consumer group, volume producer group, and builder group. So let's talk about that a little bit. Who are you looking for? What is your advertising there all about? You've got to be very, very clear on this. You're looking for people to fill Okay, in consumer groups, we're looking for people who what? What do consumers want? Consumers want the benefits of the products. They want to get the results on the products. So when I'm prospecting for consumers with all of my advertising, that's who I'm looking for. I'm looking for someone that I can teach how to get results on the products. I'm not looking for a name to write on my consumer group page and say, great, I sold. I'm not looking for someone to, quote, sell the products to. You've got to get this. That's not building a consumer group. I'm looking for someone to help get results on the products. So make sure that you understand what you're doing. Customer follow-up here is very critical. Know your 3 groups, know what they want, and know what they need to learn, and make sure that you're going to provide that. So in your prospecting, if you're going to, what is retail advertising? Retail is an advertising method that looks for consumers, just by the nature of what the ad says. Lose weight now, or have more energy now, or have younger looking skin now. Who are you looking for with those advertising? Consumers. Know that, and then meet the needs, support them until you've got a group built well. So that's what we're building. Second group we're building. See, if you build nothing but the groups, you're building your business. Let's not overcomplicate this thing. I'm trying to think of building a big organization and building a press team or whatever it is. No, I'm building 3 groups. Cindy and I are just building 3 groups. They're not even built yet. And look at where it's taken us. Mm-hmm. So know that. Be very clear on your mission here. And that's what you educate yourself on, how to support a consumer group. And then how to support a volume producer group. Volume producers, those are people who want to develop consumer groups primarily. Want to develop a source of income on
Retail
on product sales primarily. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then the builder group. Now, some people think they're, quote, in the builder group, they're looking for supervisors to sign up. We don't believe that that's what we're looking for. I mean, why would you want a supervisor to join your business? Ask yourself that question. Would you want a supervisor to join your business so that you can get a one-time sales commission of whatever it is, $320? Do you want a supervisor to join your group just so you can say you got another one? Just to do the activity of recruiting? No, guys, that's not why we want supervisors. We want supervisors if that's someone who wants to become a builder, who wants to learn how to build these 3 groups. You follow? So understand why we prospect, why we recruit. Very, very important. In fact, I think, let's talk about that a little bit. Let's talk about what prospecting really is. Prospecting is where, is the way that we're using it, is you're looking for people to join these groups. So when you say just the word prospecting, here's what I think of. What comes to mind for me is I think of, I have this image of this gray-haired man missing a couple of teeth, you know, with the dressed up in the old, what is it, the panhandle days with the pan, prospecting and looking for gold, right? And he's crouched up next to a stream, and he's digging that pan into the water, and what's he scooping up? He's scooping up a pan full of water and dirt and sand and rocks, and then he starts sifting through it, looking for something in particular. What's he looking for? Precious stones. Maybe he's looking for gold. But what happens if he finds silver? Is he going to keep it? Absolutely. What happens if he finds another precious stone, you know, an emerald or something? You've got to know what it is you're looking for, and you've got to go through a sifting process to find out. Now, to take that prospecting concept and to put it in terms, what do I do as I'm building my 3 groups? As people respond to whatever form of advertising, the button, the flyers, the signs, whatever classifieds, whatever we're using, here's what's going on in the back of our minds. We're thinking, are you possibly a consumer? Are you possibly a volume producer? Are you possibly a builder? Are you someone who wants to learn these? And your prospecting method needs to help you help them make that decision. Does that make sense? Am I being clear on that? Okay. So what you want to have, here's what your prospecting method should incorporate. It should incorporate the advertising plan. You got that. Once people respond to the advertising plan, now it should go through what we call a sorting process. And you should have a defined sorting method that you use. For example, and what are we sorting for, by the way? What's the third thing we all do in this business? 1, 2, 3. We all teach. Teach people in these 3 groups how to get what they're looking for. So what are we looking for when we're prospecting? We're looking for willing students. That's what you're looking for. You're looking for a willing student of how to get product results, or a willing student of how to build a consumer group, or a willing student of how to build all 3. Those are the builders. I'm starting to get excited. I love this part of the business. All right. So, but your sorting process generally follow whatever your sponsorship line is doing is what I recommend, but they generally follow, cover a few categories. Number 1 would be a pre-screen. And a pre-screen might be when someone answers an ad. The ad itself might be a pre-screen. Okay? Some people send out booklets in the mail as a pre-screen. So people can read it. If they're interested, great. If they're not interested, they throw it in the garbage, and you know that that's not a willing student. Then those who respond to that are now prospects. They're jumped in the pan. You're not sure what they are yet, but they're in there and they're worth sorting through, right? Then the second step after pre-screen is some kind of presentation. Now, if you're looking for consumers, it's how do you present what the product benefits are to them. If you're looking for business builders, how do you present the opportunity? Now, some presentations, again, follow your sponsorship line, but be clear on this. It could be a video presentation, or it could be a live, in-person, one-on-one showing the products, or going through the flip chart on the business opportunity. It could be some people invite their prospects into a group, a hotel meeting. Some use decision packages. Some may even use a website, whatever, a presentation to show the benefits. Be clear on what it is I suggest your sponsorship line is using, but whatever method you will use, make sure that you guys all basically do the same methods you've chosen in there. Then after the presentation, sometimes there's a double presentation. Maybe like some people break their decision packages into 2, a first pack and a second pack. But then after that, somewhere in your process is the enrollment. And the enrollment is really where you're now going to enroll those who say, yeah, I want the benefits. Now, don't get too narrow-minded on this. We enroll consumers, we enroll volume producers, and we enroll builders. So your whole 3-group building and sorting process should bring you through that whole prospecting range down to the point where you want to know either yes or no, they're in or they're out. Once they're in, make sure that they're willing students and make sure you're willing to teach everything you know at that point. And so then, of course, you go through an enrollment process with them. What do they need to know to get enrolled into with, depending on which group they are, define the needs of the group, make sure you help them through the enrollment process, and then start bringing them through an educational process just like what you did to get to where you are today. And if you can bring anyone through to the point of getting enrolled in any of these groups, you already know enough to teach them how to go back and do that magic word, duplicate it. All you need to do is track back everything you've done up to this point and teach them how to do the same thing. So that's another topic. That's mentoring, but I suggest that you definitely take that route. The third part of your business building stage is using activity records to control your growth. This is one that is really, really important. You know what the gauges are. We're talking about monthly writing down everything that you do as far as your advertising efforts, and then tracking all of the responses you get and then all of the results. Do that, keep them forever. But here's the real cool thing about that. Keep them on file forever, and then as you develop those gauges, you want to analyze them. And you want to look at how much activity it takes you to get how much result. You can actually boil this down, no matter which of these 3 groups you're building, you can actually boil it down to how much advertising it takes for you to find one consumer, how much advertising it takes to find one builder, one supervisor, one distributor. You can know that if you keep track of the records, okay? And once you know that, this is really powerful. I look at it as, this is very similar to, on our way here in the plane, I was just watching the pilots. They had the door open to the cockpit, and I saw the gauges and the controls. And here's what was powerful. As I watched the pilots, they'd look at the gauge, and then they'd make an adjustment. And they'd look at a gauge, and they'd hit another control. And they'd make every adjustment based on the information the gauge told them. Now, what is their goal? Their goal is a destination. They want to get from here to there. And their gauges tell them of all of the factors affecting their course. And if they go off course a little bit, the gauge tells them now they take action to correct it. And that's the powerful thing. Same thing with this business. When you develop all of that data, you have a goal of where you want to get to. Your people have a goal of where they want to get to. When you have that data, and if they're off track, they're not building as fast as they want to, look at your gauge and you can say, oh, okay, your advertising level is off here. No problem. All you need to do is increase this. And you see where I'm going? Mm-hmm. That's really important. It's powerful. You can literally control the rate at which you grow once you use those gauges to base it on.
And if you don't have any gauge at all, how will you know if you're going up or down or sideways? There will be no way for you to know where you're going, if you're on track or off track, and it could be a fatal ending for you too. So we view these gauges as very critical instruments in how to do your business. And I love what you say about once you know how much it's going to take for you to do this, and believe me, in this business, there is so much business out there. There is so much business out there, guys. It's exciting, it's incredible, and all we have to do is learn what our gauges tell us. How much do I need to do to bring that business to me? And once you know that, you can adjust that. If you want to go faster, you want to slow down because you're too busy, whatever it is, you know you're in control because you have those gauges.
And those gauges actually give you a record of what you've done to get to where you are. That is really key because that's what you're teaching these three groups is that. Now, I'd really boil it down on those gauges. Let me boil down locking into a mode of growth, this building stage we talk about. Regarding the activity gauges, there are 5 ingredients. I suggest you write down that if you aspire to master these 5, that you'll be able to take full advantage of controlling your growth through locking into this building mode and through the gauges. The first thing you want to, first ingredient is commit to filling out the gauges. Use them. Just record of everything, number 1. Second ingredient is to then learn the advertising skills on the gauge. Okay, when you learn the skills of how to effectively get that advertising going, you're unstoppable. Number 3, the prospecting skills that we just described. You're going to need to learn those on how to prospect up to getting these people in the groups. Number 4, how to calculate what we call your batting averages. How many flyers does it take for me to get one appointment? How many presentations do I need to give before one person joins me as supervisor? Whatever it is, these are what we call batting averages. Break it down to, if you boil it down to how many presentations must I give to find, for each of these 3 groups, to find one member, how much advertising to get a presentation, how many presentations to get one member, then you've got this batting average down. And then the fifth ingredient is how to adjust based on what these batting averages and gauges tell you. If you're not on course, then adjust your activity. You seek to know those and daily analyze that. If you seek to master these 5 ingredients, you'll do extremely well. So, take the next one.
Okay, and another thing we just want to touch on briefly is just the financials again. This is an important part of your business. You know, most people come into this business because they want to, earn extra income. And what can happen in that flurry of activity is you don't know what's going in, you don't know what's going out, and sometimes it can appear to be very, very overwhelming, and you think, wow, I'm not getting anywhere. And that's why we use a financial tracking method that we use that I actually adapted from when way before our Herbalife business, when I just did a household budget. Now again, you can use anything you want. This is what we use, and they're going to put up on the screen here. This is a business monthly budget and balance sheet. And this is basically, for the first couple years of our business, I was using my household budget, which was very similar to this, but I didn't have any sort of financial plan at all. I really didn't have a grip on what was going on financially in my business. In my mind, I thought it takes a lot more money to build this business than it really did. And when I boiled it right down and actually kind of wrote down, what does it cost me to keep my business running every month? And I broke it down into really this plan here is kind of a basic outline of what it is that it cost us to run the different expenses that were needed to run our business. And when I broke it down and added it all up, it really wasn't that much. And then when I looked at what the income was for my business, how much retail profit was I making, how much wholesale profit was I making, how much royalty profit was I making, how much production bonus was I making. When I was able to add and put that all together, I realized, boy, it really doesn't take that much money to run this business. And for the most part, your cash flow is keeping things going, and then boom, before you know it, you're into that profit level. So keep a grip on what's going on. This doesn't have to be complicated, just knowing where you're at. And when we have people, we'd like to have people kind of build this plan out over 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, depending on their goals and where they want to go and what they want to put into their business. We have them fill these out as a projection of what they think it's going to take to meet their goals, and then to track actually, well, how much retail sales did you actually do? Well, how much did your advertising actually cost? What was your touch phone bill? Those things, get it going. And then if somebody sees, well, my plan isn't where I want it to be, there's more going out that's coming in, it's kind of like, well, how do you want to handle that? Do you want to slow down a little bit? Do you want to get more customers? Because I'm telling you, customers, consumers are the greatest way to generate cash in this business. It's you put some time and effort into finding consumers, you're going to find them and you're going to make profit. Do I need to find more consumers to be able to rev up my plan a little bit more? Or is there different ways that I can supplement my plan, my business plan here, till I get to the point that I'm where I want to be financially and I'm growing financially in my business? Very, very important. And I guarantee when you get this down on paper and you get more control over this and a handle on this, you'll find it's a lot easier than you think, and it takes a whole lot of stress and chaos, like that building process we were talking about, off your shoulders. So very important. We recommend this, and the people who have in our organization who have jumped on this and implemented this into their business, they love it. And the ones who love it tend to teach that to their organizations and the people in their group, because they see the value of it and how much it helps them.
And don't worry about it if you don't understand finances. It'll come together. It's not that big of a deal. Keep in mind, though, that the royalty income is a long-term, grows and develops. It's a little at a time. I think some of our guys, their first royalty check was $1. Ours was $30 or something, and it grows. It takes. So be patient.
Time.
You're not ready to move in yet. That's the dream money. The dream money will come from that royalty. For those of you who are building that big dream, okay?
Yeah, and
but
remember,
that takes some time to develop.
The immediate cash you get from your consumer sales. If you need money now, you need money today to keep your business rolling so that you can build that long-term residual income. Get the consumers today, and remember that the royalty growth is something that usually comes down the road after you've been building for a while. So like the house where we want to move in today and it doesn't look like any progress is being made, it is being made. Keep going, figure it out. You need immediate cash, get customers. You're looking for residual income, that will be a slower growth through royalties.
Okay, the fifth topic on the building stage here is what we call mentoring your team members. We're just going to touch base on this one, because that whole topic, that's a different training all on its own. But what we mean by mentoring, don't worry, you don't have to be, again, a big expert mentor. The bottom line of this is you need to realize that these three group members, you need to make a commitment when they join you to teach them how to do what you do in respect to what they need to learn. Okay? It's kind of a run in a circle sentence, but that's what that is. Now, again, if you have the ability to duplicate what your upline is doing, that's what we recommend, because you get the most readily available support in how to duplicate it there. We also recommend then that you make it duplicatable. what you're doing, standardize the way that you all do it, because then the support of your group, now there's more numbers, they're supporting each other as they grow. And make sure, as you're developing your builder group and your volume producer group, make sure that you're not only teaching them what they need to do, but teach them how to also teach it to their people. And because they won't. Just model it for them. Teach their first couple of people how to be consumers, their first couple of people how to be builders, with them listening and them learning and asking questions. Just realize under this mentoring section that this is what we get paid to do in this business. We get paid to teach people in these 3 groups how to get the results they're looking for. Okay? And again, don't be afraid of that. Teach people how to get results on products as consumers. You can do that. Teach people how to build a consumer group. You can do that. Teach people how to get these other 3 groups. You can do that. That's what we get paid to do. And that's it. So on the 5 points on your business building stage you want to remember is your education, your building your 3 groups, and the methods used in that. That's where we talked about the prospecting, the use of activity gauges and records, keeping financial records. That's important. And then, of course, mentoring your team members in each of those groups. So that's it. We've really enjoyed going through this topic with you. I have a real passion on this one, and it was great sharing it with you. See you guys next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.